Have you ever said yes to something and immediately felt that sinking feeling in your stomach? You know the one. Someone asks if you can help with a project, cover a shift, attend an event, and before you even think about it, the word yes tumbles out of your mouth. Then you hang up the phone or walk away and you're already exhausted just thinking about it. I've watched so many people go through this cycle. Just last month, a friend told me she'd been invited to 3 different events on the same Saturday. 3? And she said yes to all of them because she didn't want anyone to feel let down. By the time that Saturday rolled around, she was running from one place to another, showing up frazzled, not really present anywhere. She wasn't being a good friend. She wasn't being good to herself. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm naturally pretty comfortable with saying no and setting boundaries. It's something that's always come fairly easily to me. But over the years, I've met so many people who find it incredibly challenging, and I get it. Our culture doesn't exactly celebrate boundaries. So today, I want to offer a new perspective and some practical tools for those of you who want to get better at saying no without guilt. Because here's what I've learned: saying no can actually help you show up more fully for the things and people that truly matter. Let's start with why boundaries matter in the first place. A lot of us think of boundaries as walls, like we're shutting people out or being selfish, but that's not what boundaries are at all. Boundaries are containers. They hold your energy so you can give from a place of fullness, not depletion. Think about it from an energy perspective. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with you, you're leaking energy. You're scattering yourself across a dozen different commitments, obligations, and expectations. And when you're scattered, you can't be present. You can't be creative. You can't be connected. But when you choose wisely, when you protect your time and energy, you're not closing yourself off. You're actually creating the space to show up authentically. And that's where real connection happens. Not in the surface level yes that you didn't mean, but in the honest, grounded presence that comes from knowing your limits. Here's a quote I love: when you overcommit, you're scattering your energy. When you choose wisely, you're amplifying it. Boundaries aren't about being less available. They're about being more intentional with where you direct your care, your time, and your heart. So, how do we actually do this? How do we say no in a way that feels kind, clear, and guilt free? Let me share some practical boundary phrases that you can start using right away. These aren't scripts you have to memorize word for word. Think of them as templates. You can adjust them to fit your voice and your situation. The first one is simple: I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit to that right now. This phrase does a few things. It acknowledges the person, it's warm, but it's also clear. You're not making excuses, you're not over explaining, you're just stating your reality. The second phrase is great when you need a little time. Let me check in with myself and get back to you. This one is gold because it gives you permission to pause. You don't have to answer on the spot. You're allowed to take a breath, feel into it, and respond when you're ready. It also signals to the other person that you take your commitment seriously. Here's another one: I'd love to support you, but I don't have the capacity right now. This is honest and compassionate. You're not saying you don't care. You're saying you're human, and humans have limits. It's okay to name that. Then there's this one, which I use a lot: that doesn't feel like a good fit for me, but I hope you find the right person. Notice how it's not about them. It's about alignment. You're not rejecting them. You're honoring what works for you, and you're wishing them well. That matters. Another phrase that works beautifully is: I'm focusing my energy on a few key priorities right now, and I need to protect that space. This one is especially helpful if you're dealing with repeat requests or people who don't quite get why you're saying no. It frames your decision as intentional, not reactive. You're not being flaky, you're being focused. One more. I care about you, and I also need to take care of myself. This is vulnerable and powerful. It reminds the other person that your relationship matters, and so does your well being. It's not either or, it's both and. And finally, sometimes the simplest response is the best. No, but thank you for asking. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you're declining. A kind, clear no is a complete sentence. What all of these phrases have in common is that they create space. They're not about shutting people out, they're about being honest. And honesty, even when it's a no, is a form of respect. It respects the other person enough to tell them the truth, and it respects you enough to honor your limits. Now, let's talk about why saying no feels so hard for many people. Because knowing the phrases is one thing, actually using them is another. For so many people I've worked with and talked to, saying no brings up fear, fear of missing out, fear of disappointing someone, fear of being seen as difficult or unkind. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that being a good person means being available, that love equals sacrifice, that if we're not busy, we're not valuable. And so people say yes, even when they're running on empty. They say yes because they don't want to let anyone down. But here's the thing, when you say yes out of guilt or obligation, you're not really giving, you're performing. And people can feel that. They can sense when you're there in body, but not in spirit. So who are you really helping? The truth is, saying no to what drains you is saying yes to yourself. It's saying yes to your health, your creativity, your peace of mind. It's saying yes to the people and projects that truly light you up. And when you show up from that place, you have so much more to offer. Let's just take a breath together, in and out. Feel how space feels in your body. One of the biggest shifts you can make is to pause before responding. When someone asks something of you, you don't have to answer immediately. You can say, let me think about it. Let me check my calendar. Let me check in with myself first. That last one is key. Let me check in with myself first. It's a radical act of self-respect. It says, my inner knowing matters, my energy matters. I'm not going to override my gut just to make this moment more comfortable. So practice pausing, even if it's just for a few seconds. Feel into the request. Does it feel expansive or contracting? Does it feel aligned or obligatory? Your body knows, trust it. And if the answer is no, let it be no, not maybe, not a reluctant yes, just a clear, kind no. Another mindset shift that helps is recognizing that you're not responsible for other people's reactions. If someone gets upset because you set a boundary, that's information. It tells you something about how they've been relating to you. Maybe they've gotten used to you always saying yes. Maybe they've been leaning on you in ways that aren't sustainable. That's not your fault, and it's not your job to manage their disappointment. Your job is to be honest, to be kind, and to take care of yourself. You can hold compassion for their feelings without abandoning your own needs. Both things can be true. They can be disappointed, and you can still say no. It's not cruel, it's human. Here's something else to consider. When you say yes to everything, you're teaching people that your time and energy are infinitely available. And that's not true. You're not infinite. You're a person with limits, with needs, with a life that deserves your attention. When you start saying no, you're reteaching people how to relate to you. And yes, that might feel uncomfortable at first. Some people might push back. But the ones who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They'll appreciate your honesty. And your relationships will actually get stronger because they'll be built on truth, not obligation. Let's also talk about FOMO for a second, the fear of missing out. It's real. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness and celebrates being everywhere, doing everything. But here's what I've learned. When you're everywhere, you're nowhere. When you're doing everything, you're not really doing anything well. You're skimming the surface. And the things that matter most, the deep connections, the meaningful work, the quiet moments of rest, those get lost in the noise. So, yes, when you say no, you might miss out on something, but you're also saying yes to something else. Maybe it's a quiet evening at home. Maybe it's time to work on a project you've been putting off. Maybe it's just space to breathe. And that's not nothing, that's everything. Let me share an example of how this works in practice. A few months ago, a friend invited me to a weekend retreat. Beautiful location, great people, all the things. And I immediately knew it wasn't right for me at that time. I'd been traveling a lot for work and I was craving stillness. So I told her the truth right away. I said, "This sounds wonderful, and I'm not in a place to say yes right now. I need some downtime." And you know what? She got it. She didn't take it personally. She thanked me for being honest. I spent that weekend at home reading, resting, recharging. It was exactly what I needed. And because I honored that, I was able to show up more fully the next time we got together. That's the power of a well-placed no. When you're clear about your boundaries, you create space for what truly serves you. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Start noticing your yeses. Pay attention to how they feel in your body. Are they expansive or heavy? Are they aligned or obligatory? If you find yourself saying yes out of guilt, pause. It's okay to go back and change your answer. You can say, "I thought about it more and I actually need to decline." People respect honesty, and the ones who don't, well, that's information too. Practice one of the phrases we talked about today. Pick the one that feels most natural to you and try it out. It might feel awkward at first. That's normal. You're building a new muscle. But the more you practice, the easier it gets. And remember, saying no is not selfish. It's self-aware. It's not unkind. It's honest. And it's not closing doors. It's making space for the things that truly matter. Thank you for listening to the Being Connected podcast. And remember to focus on what truly matters to you.